But the thing about early 2000s rap was that pretty much every superstar also had a unique style and sound. Not only Nelly, had Jay-Z, DMX, Luda, Eminem, Ja Rule, Lil Wayne, 50 Cent, and more. Nobody sounded the same. And Nelly believes that individuality came from how artists were discovered then compared to today.
I think in that era, you had to buy into the artists themselves. Now, an artist can become huge before they even understand what being an artist is. We grew up on the culture first, and then we were a part of it. And I think now, I mean, you catch a viral moment and somebody's huge right away, and they don't even understand totally how to make a song. That might have been the third song they ever made, and now they're forced to be an artist, which they really don't know how to be an artist. But we come from that era where it was you had to prove yourself to get the deal. Not you got the deal, now you got to prove that you can keep it.
As Nelly said in the clip, back in the 2000s, the rappers, all sounded different. Now, Nelly does have a point because DMX sounded different from him. He sounded different. DMX sounded different from Jay-Z. Jay-Z sounded different from Eminem. Eminem sounded different from Busta Rhymes. But how many styles can you make that are different before eventually you run out of styles? Now, it might seem easier said than done to create different styles, but back then in 2000, you got to think about that was right towards the golden era of hip hop, I want to say, because the 90s, the late 90s was starting to be that golden era. So there were a lot of different styles that were generating because not to throw shots at like the 80s rappers or the 70s rappers, but they had more of a simplistic style, and more, pretty much had the same type of flows. But then when she started getting in the late 80s with Big Daddy Kane's and the early 90s with Nas's and your Jay-Z's and Biggie's, they started to create new styles. They were able to create new rap schemes. The productions were a lot different. So you had a lot of samples and soulful hooks that people were creating. So it called for different rap styles. So that can be the reasons why artists today sound the same, is because, maybe they ran out of styles. Not to give them an out, but back in Nelly's era, it was the radio era. So you had to make hits for the radio. Now you don't have to make songs for the radio. You're making songs for YouTube and TikTok and Instagram and X and Facebooks and things like that. So you're more catering towards a younger artist. Back in the 2000s, they were making music for grown-ups, making music for adults. Not so much now. You're making music to appease the masses, which is the younger audience, because the older audiences mostly has phased out and become fickle. So, well, the younger audience is more fickle than the older audience, but it's all fickle now. So you have to change up every different time and stuff like that. But mostly everybody's trying to mimic the most successful people, your Futures, your Drakes, your Kanye's, whoever the popular artist is right now. So when you think about originality now is kind of frowned upon, because if people seem different now, they're less likely to gravitate it. You won't get more views. You won't really get a lot of looks towards labels, which labels are not major as they were, of course, back in 2000s. So back in 2000s, they were able to push this stuff because there was more money in it too, I believe. So when you got more money, you can experiment with more things and you can create more, and you can make more risks. Now it's not about risk. Now it's about being safe and creating what's the look now, or what's the sound right now. So everybody's trying to make a Future and Drake and Kendrick and J. Cole. It's very difficult to duplicate, but people are trying to do that. So that's probably what Nelly was trying to get to, as far as saying the sounds back in the 2000s everyone sounded different. So now when you have to appreciate more, and I'll talk about I Love McConan in a little bit, but I love McConan, his sound, or Kid Cudi when he came out, his sound, Sexy Red, her sound, which is kind of mimic off of Meg Thee Stallion, but she was able to take it even more personal and more realistic. So Nelly does have a strong point when he said 2000 artists sounded a lot different. Every artist did, and there really wasn't any comparisons to other artists. But for the most part, it's due to the success in the industry and being able to take more risks. Now labels are looking for the same thing, because they can't take risk anymore. They know what works. They know what's successful, opposed to 2000 when everybody was going gold and platinum at that time. No matter, you only needed one song, song single that will take you over the top and make your album either gold or platinum, unless you were like a backpack rapper or you had a different sound. Now, if you came out with a true hip hop album and had a number one hit single or a hit song, you were guaranteed to pretty much go gold or platinum. So Nelly does have a big point, and it's a big part of the culture. So Nelly definitely had a point, and label executives now just have to be able to take more risks so the genre can push forward. So when the next time a Lil Nas X comes out, or the next time who else is a big artist like I Love McConan, like I talked about before, next time those artists come out with this new scheme of rapping, or this new style of rap mixed infused with other genres, we need to embrace those, because we can create that individuality, we can create that uniqueness in the genre again, and not become stagnant and complacent and where the genre is and where the genre could be heading. So definitely good job by Nelly talking about that. And he also said it as well. He's not trying to downplay other genres, but he's just talking about his perspective, especially being so close to the game in 2000 and being one of the most successful rappers back then. He definitely had a first class look, or front row seat to what the hip hop game was back then, and its uniqueness, and how every different rapper brought a different perspective, a different story, a different persona, and created this beautiful world of hip hop, the golden era of hip hop back then. So as always, thanks for tuning in to the Urban Scope podcast. Until next time, I'll see you next time.